Hey, what's up guys? In this video I want to show you 5 example solves using the YruRU method, which is a completely brand new OH method, which was invented by the same person who developed the Meta, or Meta, don't actually know how to pronounce it, but anyway. This method is very interesting in my opinion. I'll talk about my personal thoughts on it at the end of the video. But for now, I have to clarify some things before actually starting the example solves. So first of all, this is not meant to be a tutorial of the method. I'll leave a link in the description for a tutorial of it. If you've never heard about it, or anyway you don't know which steps combined form the method, I have to say it is a very convoluted method, especially for the first part, which is building the cpline, meaning that you build a line of corner, edge, corner, and you also solve the cp at the beginning of the solve, and that's a very convoluted and abstract step. So if you don't know how to do it, or you have no idea about how it works, please check the video in the description first, and then come back and watch these example solves. Otherwise they won't make any sense at all, because I'll do like random moves to your eyes, and which don't make any sense, as I said. So please first check that video in the description, and then when you know what I'm talking about, come back here and see my example solves. Second thing I want to point out is that I will use a fixed orientation for these solves. So I'll do white on top, green on front in every solve, and this will help the tutorial for being consistent, because if you are here at this point of the video, you know that you have to number the corners. So if you change orientation, of course numbers change. I mean, in this orientation, that's corner number 1. If you pick, for example, this orientation, corner number 1 is this one. So to make the tutorial consistent, I will stick to this orientation, so WCA. And third thing I want to state here is that the 5 solves will be in order of difficulty. So I start with the 2 solves where the 2 corners of the line are already placed. Then I'll do 2 solves where DFL is not correctly permuted, and finally I'll show a solve where DFL is flipped. So will be in order of complexity. Okay, so that's the first scramble we're going to see. And the first thing to do in inspection is to find the DBL corner, which is right here, and choose an orientation which solves it. So in our case, it will be x2. And that's because DBL is solved by definition in this method. The second thing we have to look for is the position of the DFL corner, which is right here in this case, and it's already solved. So this is a case where the 2 corners that form the line are already solved, and that's the best case we can aim for. What you have to do now is find corner number 5 and corner number 6, and they are here and here. So position number 2 and position number 5, which means that we have the inverted lightning bolt circlet, which has this kind of shape. Particularly since corner number 5 is in position 2 and corner number 6 is in position 5, the circlet will go here to here to here to here. So now that we have determined our circlet, you have to find the corner number 4, which is here, and trace the 2 following corners. So in that case, the tracing will be here, which is corner number 1, and then here, which is corner number 2. And 1, 2 is the tracing for our scramble, and that's the best tracing possible, because 1, 2 means that our CP is already solved. So since DFL it's already solved too, that means we basically have to do nothing in order to do our cpline. It's all done for us. All we have to do is just solve the DL edge, which is right here. So in this case, all we have to do is something like U S prime to solve our line, because our CP is already solved. So yeah, that's the first step of the method. Now we have to solve our partial edge orientation plus the extension of the line we already made. So you can see that the orange center is here on the bottom, and then the two edges that form the extension are here. So here what I can do is UR2 in order to attach this edge to its corresponding center. Then I probably do a U2 to bring this edge here. So when I do R wide, this orange will be on top. Then what I can do is a U wide prime, which brings the orange center right face and this edge here. And now instead of just doing R2, I rather do R wide R. That's because doing R wide R solves also our partial edge orientation. So let me undo the moves. You can see by performing an R, I'm moving an R wide, I'm moving the yellow center on top and placing an oriented edge on DB. So our partial edge orientation will be done. In addition, I also placed a misoriented edge in DF, which isn't mandatory for the method, but it's definitely something we should do if possible, because it influences in a good way the following step. So that's great. So then R, as I said, and now I can finish my extension by doing U wide, U, R prime, U wide. So now my extension is done, and my partial edge orientation is done too. And now we have to do edge orientation, we have to complete it, and as you can see, these four edges on top are all oriented, and this one is oriented too, so we just have these two edges to be we have to orient just these two, and they are placed in a good position because I have one in the M slice and one in the R face, so that's exactly what we want. So in order to orient them, I can do R prime and then R wide to bring this edge in U face, and now I can interchange them by doing U prime, R, U. Now I can choose between R wide and R wide prime. In this case, I will do R wide prime because I want the yellow center to be on top. So now what I have to do is solve BF, so DF, DB, and the yellow center. So the other edge is here, I can do U, R prime, and then U prime, R2 wide, and now my BF is solved. And now I just to finish F12, so since this cross edge is just one move away from being solved, I just solve it, and then finish the rest of the F12. So I have this pair, and then this pair, and now I'm left with this H2GLL, which has a block right here, and this is basically a zoom from the back with a trigger inside the alg. So you start the zoom, you move the pair, and then instead of finishing the zoom, you do this trigger, and now you finish the zoom, and you do UF. Alright, so let's have a look at this scramble, and DBL is here, so we'll do an X prime inspection, and again DFL is solved, so we have another case with the two corners of the line solved. Now the corners number 5 and number 6 are here, so position 1 and position 4. And this is a much easier circlet than the previous one, because we should just we have to just imagine that these two are here. So basically we have to track a U move, and then we have a circlet in the right face. And since corner number 5 is virtually position 2 and corner number 6 is in position 1, the circlet will go clockwise. So then corner number 4 is here, so tracing will be 1 and then 3. So 1, 3 means that we have to swap corner number 2 with corner number 3. So let's find them. Corner number 3 is here and corner number 2 is here. So we have a swapper here in UBL, UBR. And whenever we have a swapper here, we also have a swapper here and a swapper here. So we can actually choose the pair we like the most, and of course I'm gonna choose this one because it's already in the U layer, so it's the easiest to solve. And to swap a pair which is in UBR, UBL, when this corner is already solved, we simply have to do F, R, F prime. So DL is right here, so instead of just doing F, R, F prime, I will do F, R wide, F prime, and that influences this edge. So now I can insert it with U, S2, which you can do like this, so S prime, S prime, or you can do like this, S, S, so which is a bit more difficult to get used to. So yeah, it's up to you. As you can do S like holding these two layers and pushing, but it's more difficult than just doing S prime. So I suggest to do S prime, S prime. Sorry. So now let's move on to partial edge orientation plus extension, and we already have the orange center in the right face, which is good, and an edge already attached, and the other edge is here, so I can do R prime, R prime like this, and then U to connect this edge. And now I will do an R wide in order to finish my partial edge orientation. So I have the yellow center here and an oriented edge in DB, and I can finish the extension by doing U wide too. So now moving on to edge orientation. This time, unfortunately, this edge this edge is misoriented, so that's good. Unfortunately, we have more edges than previous solve, so we have a misoriented edge here, here, and here. No, this is good, so that's one. This is the fourth wrong one. So we have 4 wrong edges, and we can set up them to a staircase by doing something like maybe R2, U, R prime. Yes, this works. And now we have bad edge here, 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 and here. And I can solve them by doing R wide, U prime, and okay, since I have these 2 edges here, this time I'll do R wide. So I put white on top. That's because it's easier in this case to just solve BF on the D face. So I put this edge with R2 and then do a U, and now I can do R2 wide, U prime, R2 wide, and this solves my BF. And now I am left with F12. In this case, I'll do, instead of just solving this edge and then finishing pairs, I'll do something ZZ style. So U2 R to make this block, and then U prime R puts this edge here, and then U2 forms this block, and then R2 inserts it, and then have this pair. So U prime, sorry, RU wide R2 U2 R prime U insert, and we have this T2GLL with this massive block. It's just a two-corner flip. We can hold it like this and do soon U2 zoom from the back to solve it. U2 zoom from the back, and there isn't a UF. Okay, so that's the third scramble, and UBL is here, so we can do Z prime Y to solve it. And that's a case where UFL isn't solved because it's right here. So whenever we have a case where DFL isn't solved, we just pretend it is. So we imagine that this corner is solved, and this corner, which is in this case corner number 4, is in its spot. So these two are basically swapped in our mind when we do the tracing. So now let's find the corner number 5 and corner number 6. They are located here and here. So position 2 and position 4, which means that we have the V plus an arm circlet. So that's a V and that's the arm, this shape. And corner number 5 is in position 2 and corner number 6 in position 4, which means the circlet goes here to here to here to here. So we find our corner number 4, which is right here, because remember, these two are swapped. So here, and then we trace here, which is corner number 2, and then here, which is corner number 3. So our tracing is 2, 3. Tracing 2, 3 means that we have to swap corner number 1 with corner number 4. So corner number 1 is here, corner number 4 is here. So we have a swap pair here in the diagonal of the R face. And when we have a swap pair here, we also have a swap pair here and a swap pair here. But in this case, we can't actually choose the swap pair that we like the most, as we did in the previous solve. And that's because DFL isn't solved. So we have to pick the swap pair which contains it. So we have to pick this one. So this will be our swap pair. And what we have to do now is place the DFL corner in a place in the F face in order to solve it with some kind of F move. Can be a quarter turn or an F2, doesn't matter. And we have to place the other corner in position 3. And fortunately, in this case, we were pretty lucky. They are already in this kind of situation. So we don't need to do any RU moves in order to set up this case. So we just have to do an F move to solve this corner, and our CP will be done. And then just solve the DL edge by doing U prime S2. And that solves the CP line. So now we have the center here and an edge here. So maybe I'll bring this edge here, I do R, and then R prime, R wide prime, sorry, to put the center here, U wide prime, and then R, U prime to build the extension. And here the CP line, the partial edge orientation looks already good, so I can just do R prime U wide 2. And because here there is an edge oriented in DB and centers are already placed. Okay, so then we have to finish our EO, and in this scenario we have this time is oriented. Misoriented edges are here and here. We have two. Anyway, they're good because one is in the M slice and one is in the R face. So we can hide this one by doing an R, then doing an R wide prime to to make sure this edge stays in the U face, and now we can interchange these two by doing U prime, R prime, U, and then I'll do an R wide prime to bring the yellow center on top. Now I can finish my BF by doing R wide, U R2 wide, and now I have to finish my F12, and in this case I'll probably pair up these two. So R, U prime, R2, and then U prime to build this block and R2. And now maybe here I could cancel also into inserting this edge by doing instead of doing R2 I can do R, U, R, and then I have this pair which is better than what we get without inserting this edge. And now I have this this L2GLL with one block here, and that's you place the block here and you do this alg, and then UF. Well, that's scramble number 4, and DBL is here, so Y2, and in this case DFL is right here. So again we imagine swap these two, so DFL is solved, and that's corner number 6. We imagine it in position 2. Then we have corner number 5 in position 4. So again we have 2 and 4, which means the V with an arm circlet, but this time they're swapped compared to the previous solve. So corner number 6 is in position 2, not in position 4, and that means that the circlet goes here to here to here to here. So that's the inverse of the previous one. And corner number 4 is here, so our tracing will be corner number 1 and then corner number 3. So 1, 3 means swapping corner number 2 with corner number 3. So corner number 2 is here, and that's corner number 3. So we have this swap pair again on the diagonal of the R face, but we can choose this pair because it doesn't contain the DFL corner. We know that when we have this swap pair we also have this one and this one, and we should pick this one because that's the pair which contains the DFL corner. Alright, so now we have to put this corner in a way which makes it solvable with an F turn, some sort of F turn, and this corner should be on position 3. And we can also notice that the DL edge is let me find it, is right here, so not the most beautiful spot to be. So we have to do some sort of setup to bring this corner here, this corner solvable with an F turn, and also solve this, do some moves which influence this edge. So a way we can do it is by doing a U, which brings this corner here and this here, then do an R2, which puts this corner here, then we can do a U2, and now instead of just doing an R, we do an R wide, so the DL edge will move here. And now these are good, so we can solve this corner by doing F2, and then just U prime S2 to solve the line, and our cpline is solved. For our partial edge orientation plus extension, this case is pretty straightforward, since we have an edge here, a corner, and the center here, so we can do just U2 wide to connect it with this edge, and then a U prime to build the extension. And now I'll do an R wide to solve the partial edge orientation. So we have centers done and an oriented edge in DB. So doing U2 wide solves our partial edge orientation plus extension. So in this case we have 4 misoriented edges. They are here, 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 and here. This is oriented. And in this case, unfortunately, we have an oriented edge in DF. So we have to do a setup to the staircase. And first thing I attempted to do is to insert this edge here by doing R wide U2 R wide prime. And now I have a misoriented edge here. And then I can do U prime RU, and now I have the staircase, and I can solve it by doing R wide, and then I'll do a U. I can choose between U and U prime, but I'll do a U to connect this edge to its center, and then an R to put an R wide to put the yellow center on top. Then I have the other edge here, so U prime R. And now U R2 wide, and BF is solved, and that also solves this corner. This edge. So I have the cross, and there is also a free pair. So first thing I will do is insert the pair, and then I'm left with these two, which I can solve just standard way. And here I have this pi 2GLL, which with a block here, and of course this can be solved 2gen since it's a 2GLL, but I use an RUS alg for this specific case, which goes like R prime U2, so take out this pair, then R2 U, so these two pairs, then R2 U prime, R2 U2 R, and then S prime U2 S, and then U prime UF. Okay, then that's the last scramble we're going to see, and DBL is here, this case, so we can do X, Y prime to solve it. And we notice that in this case, DFL is flipped in place. And that's honestly the worst case scenario, which could happen, and you should probably just try to avoid it and maybe pick up a different orientation, but I'm showing it on purpose. So we do the tracing normally to begin with. Corner number 6 is here, position 3, and corner number 5 is here, position number 5. So we have the inverted and circlet, which has this kind of shape, and since corner 5 is in position 5, the circlet goes here to here to here to here. Our corner number 4 is here, so our tracing will be 1, 3. So again, 1, 3 means that we have to swap corner number 2 with corner number 3, and they are here and here. So we have this swap pair, and we have a diagonal on the U face, which means that our other two swap pairs are this, the other diagonal, and these two. Okay, so let's see now what we have to do in order to solve this case. First of all, let's see, this edge must be flipped counterclockwise. So when the edge must be flipped counterclockwise, we have to set up a pair here in UBL, UBR, and then solve the CP with the F2 R prime F. So in this case, I'm gonna choose this pair. Why this pair? Because this pair will be 2 moves away, R2 U prime, and this one is 3 moves away, R prime U R. R U prime R U R prime. But this one is just 1 move away, just an R to set up into UBL, UBR. So now I can do F2, R prime F, and then just solve the DL edge, U, S2. and these solves are cpline. So from here I have an edge already attached to my extension, and the other one is here. I'll probably do R2 wide, and then U wide, and here I will do an R, because an R wide will would put an oriented edge here, and I want to avoid it. So I do R, U wide, sorry, R2, U wide, U, R prime, U wide. And then to finish my partial edge orientation, I'll do an R prime. And now my centers are correctly placed. I have an oriented edge in DB and a misoriented edge in UF, which is much better than an oriented edge. Here I have 4 bad edges, 1, 2, 3, 4. So just you move away from the staircase. And now I can do R wide, and here it doesn't really matter doing U or U prime. So I'll do U prime, which is better for one-handed, and then R in order to have the yellow center on top. And here I can do R prime, U, R to make the line, and then U, R2 to solve the F, and this solves this cross edge, and can solve this pair, and then this pair. And here I have this pi 2GLL with a block here and a block here. We hold it like this with the headlights on front, and that's an anti-soon from the back cancelled into a soon. So and no UF. Okay then, so these were the 5 solves, and hope they made sense to you. If not, please write a comment asking for any kind of clarifications, and I'll try my best in order to be more clear. And also for any doubts or maybe even suggestions about something in these solves, please leave a comment, or also if you want more solves about this method, I'll be happy to do them. And now that I'm done with the solves, I want to leave some personal thoughts about the method. So I think it is quite interesting, despite of course getting used to tracing the cpline at the beginning is tough, but when you are comfortable with this tracing, I think this method could be great. First of all, for its 2gen nature. I mean, you can spam moves very well when your look ahead gets used to this new method. And of course, the nature of the last layer is very powerful, because with less than 100 algorithms you can do one look last layer, and always 2gen, which is actually insane. And I think you can also implement last slot advanced techniques like winter variation, summer variation, CLS, until they preserve CP. You can force also an OLL skip, which means EPLL or last layer skip. So you can have a very high chance of last layer skip compared to chances you normally have in CFOP. Other, of course, I also think it has some cons, like of course the extension of the block isn't the most efficient thing of the world, because YruRU also builds a block on the left side, but the block is a lot more efficient, and then you have to orient just 6 edges after the second block, while in this method you have to look for 7 edges. I mean, DB will be oriented, but then you have 7 more edges around to look for, and that's of course tougher. In ZZ, you don't have to complain about edge orientation at all, because it's done at the beginning of the solve, and so yeah. Maybe I think YruRU is still better than this method for one-handed. Of course, YruRU has CMLL, which anyway are like half of the number of algs of one lookless layer for this method. But I have to say, recognition of CMLL is harder than recognition of 2GLL, and that's because CMLL recognition is basically COLL recognition, so you have to see the OLL and the CP, while in this method you don't have to care at all about the COLL, because you always get the same COLL for every OLL case. Like if you, I don't know, if you get an L, you always get this one. There is anything out of this COLL you can get. These two are adjacent and these two are opposite. So you have just to worry about blocks, or this one hasn't. And so recognition, in my opinion, is faster for 2GLL than for CMLL, and you just have to look for blocks, nothing else. And of course, ZZ F2L is more efficient, but one lookless for ZZ means full ZBLL, which is terrible for number of algs. Of course, it's 493 algs, and also for recognition, because you have to recognize both the COLL and the ZB. So it's like the recognition of CMLL plus the recognition of the one lookless layer you have for this method. So yeah, the downside of ZZ is that one. And I don't know, I think I'll give a chance to this method. I want to give it a try and see if it's worth it, and yeah, maybe I'll be one of the first users in the world to actually use this method, or maybe I'll just quit at some point and realize it's not worth it and stay with ZZ, which I'm actually using for one-handed. Let's see. I'm very curious about and also happy about this method, and we will see in the future if what I can get in one-handed with this method. For now it's over, and hope you enjoyed the video, and sorry for maybe it will be a bit long, and also sorry for some mistakes, English mistakes that I've surely made, and nothing. See you in another video. Bye.